My name's Lesley Carr. I'm an educational psychologist, and I have been an educational psychologist since 1993. That's quite a long time. And before that, I was a teacher. So my first degree is in psychology, and then I did a postgraduate certificate in education. I taught for 10 years and really enjoyed that, taught primary, but then I started to be more interested and wanted to focus more on children who were having some kind of difficulty or had some kind of talent, had challenges anyway. And so consequently I went to do a master's in educational psychology, and haven't looked back since then, really. I enjoy what I do, and I think that comes across. My feedback is very good from the people that I work with. That's mostly parents and children. I used to work for a local authority, but for the past nearly 2 years now I've been self-employed, still working as an educational psychologist, and I'm kept very busy. One of the things I really like about it is the variety of the challenges that people face. And although parents are with their children all the time and they really know them better than anybody else, what I find is I'm able to work with the children, talk with all the people that are important in the situation, and come up with information and advice to help the rest of the team, as it were, to help the child make progress and overcome whatever the challenge is. So that's mainly what I do. I also work as a support and trainer when schools have a critical incident. And the critical incident, the definition of that is usually when something terrible happens. I can work to support the school develop their response. I can work with teachers to help them understand how they can monitor progress in children who've experienced difficult things. And I also do training as well in advance of the incident happening. If schools are interested in sorting out how they want to respond, and that's, to be honest, that's the best way to do it, to make sure that everyone has some kind of preparedness for a critical incident. And really, I really do enjoy that kind of work too. I basically enjoy everything that I do. I plan to do it for a very long time. What kind of challenges do children face? Well, parents often come to me when they are concerned about their child's progress. And it can be in behaviour, it can be to do with their learning. So it's a question of talking with the parents and finding out exactly, what the concern is, what the worry is. My favourite approach is to work with the school and the family, but sometimes that's not always possible. So in those cases, I would offer assessment and consultation with the child and the family itself. But as I say, I prefer to have the school involved as well, because what I like to do is give, to get a whole picture of how the child is functioning. And in order to do that, I like to see them at home and at school as well. The most common concerns that parents have would be dyslexia. My child is not reading easily, or my child is reluctant to read, or my child refuses to read. That there's usually often a question about that. Is there a real reason why my child isn't doing that or isn't getting on so well? So I can help with that. Another challenge for parents is sometimes when they feel their child isn't managing to behave well in school, or maybe has temper tantrums, or maybe has difficulty getting on with other children. And so I would class all of that as kind of social skills work, and I can help with that too. Probably the other, in terms of dyslexia behaviour, and the third one would be autism. That's a very difficult thing for a parent to come to me with. Although it's a multidisciplinary assessment, it needs to be a multidisciplinary assessment to develop a diagnosis of autism, or quite commonly Asperger's syndrome. I would be able to put parents' minds at rest, I think, in terms of the early stages. Well, you know, what are we looking at here? What's happening? In every case, I must say, in every case where a child is experiencing a challenge of some kind, it is important to make sure what's been done, you know, what's the history, what strategies have been tried to help with it, and to sort of sit down and think, well, what impact has that had? So it's always a case of being careful and looking back at the history, at what's happened. Well, I find that my feedback from parents, and in the past schools, you know, where I've worked, when I was working as a local authority educational psychologist, my feedback was very positive from schools and families. And that, I think, is part of the skill. Somebody, I don't know who it was, but somebody once said, if you involve a psychologist in the conversation, it's kind of loosens it up a bit so that possibilities and solutions can be found. And I think that's one of my key contributions, helping people to relax, take a helicopter view, if you will, and try to look for a solution. I think that's very important. Since I've been self-employed, I have found that I'm working more with parents outside of the school system, but my feedback from them is very good indeed, and from the children is very good. But the service I offer is no different, whether a school is involved or not. It just has more layers, if you will, if a school is involved. I like meeting people, and most importantly, I like helping people move on. And that's a great privilege to be able to do that. Very often, sometimes I sit and think, well, you know, I spend a few hours with a child, or with a young person or a young adult, and I can see things that I'm surprised that other people don't see. But I suppose that's just because I'm trained in that area, and I've done it for so long. And it's a privilege, really, to be able to give people insight into challenges that they face, and insight that will help them improve things in whatever way they want to improve.